Welcome to this episode of Engagement Now. My name is Mona May Malathip, Executive Director of Student Advancement with DeKalb County School District. And today we'll be discussing testing. DeKalb County School District has made great strides in CCRPI, and we want our families to be more informed in the area of testing and why it's important. So to discuss testing and how our families can be better prepared for the testing season, we have with us Dr. Michelle Hinton, technology teacher and parent, and Ms. Allison Scott, Director of Assessment and Administration. Good morning. Welcome. So let's get started. Allison, what resources does DeKalb County School District have for parents and students related to testing?
So as you know, the Georgia Department of Education has a transition plan for 100% online testing for this school year. And as such, they actually have 3 different assessment websites that parents and teachers and students can use to practice the online questions as well as the content that they will see on the Georgia Milestones. But DeKalb has been very strategic about purchasing assessment platforms that will allow teachers and parents as well as students practice online testing. And we have the Illuminate assessment platform where students are able to, they're assessed on the benchmark assessments, but teachers are also able to create mini assessments that they can share the passwords and usernames with the students so they can actually go home to practice those assessments at home. In addition to that, we have the MAP assessment, where students utilize the MAP assessments 3 times a school year, and they actually are questions on standards that are going to be assessed at the end of the school year, but it gives them great practice for online testing.
Mm-hmm. Wow, sounds like a lot of resources.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask Michelle, and I'm going to have you put on your parent hat, okay? So Allison mentioned a number of resources that the district offers and also the state for our parents and our students. Mm-hmm. But as a parent, the first question I want to ask is, do you get a lot of information from your children in terms of testing season and any type of testing anxiety that they feel when testing season comes around?
Well, my children are a little bit older. They're in high school, so they don't tell me as much, but I do know, okay, the milestone is coming out. I actually hear more about it from the mobile app. But yeah, which is great because it gives you all the latest information. But I think that as far as anxiety is concerned, they do have a little bit because I think they're concerned about how long the tests are. Mm-hmm. That's
testing stamina is really important. And earlier, before we talked about the testing timing it takes, right? So yes. Students are timed, and that can also create some anxiety as well.
Yes, that does.
So you mentioned the mobile app. That's something that DeKalb County School District offers for our parents and our teachers and our students to use in terms of understanding the other resources we have in the county?
Yes. It's actually a great way to connect with parents so that they are aware of the assessments that are coming up as well as the resources that they can tap into to help their children.
So I hear a lot about too much testing. We test our students way too much. From a district perspective, why is it important that we test students?
Well, actually, Mona May, we've actually decreased the amount of testing. It's very interesting when we have the conversation about too much testing. We actually have decreased the amount of testing. We used to actually use the writing assessment. We no longer use that. We no longer test using the ITBS. The Iowa Test of Basic Skills. We actually purchased as a district the MAP assessment that combines a lot of those assessments. So we've actually reduced the amount of assessments that students are participate in throughout the years. But testing is extremely important. And what we have to be very careful about the amount of testing. And so it's important to choose tests that are going to glean the most instructional information so that we can assist our students along the way. And so that's why we utilize the MAP assessment. That's why we have the Illuminate benchmark system, because those systems actually are there to provide a prescription, an instructional prescription about what our students need in order to perform on grade level.
And that's absolutely important. The more information, the more data we have on our
Absolutely.
students, the more targeted our instructions can be in the classroom as well.
And it not only helps the student, it also helps the teachers to understand, how well I am teaching this content, and it also helps to find other teachers in the school who are teaching content so they can actually collaborate and utilize different strategies to reach our learners.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good, in terms of teacher, we have a teacher here who's a technology teacher in our DeKalb County schools. So as a teacher, how do you prepare students for this digital world, and the testing, the assessments are being moved to being online?
Okay. What I really like is that a lot of these tests have sample tests that they can take. So the teachers are doing that not only in the classroom, but as a computer teacher, I'm also doing the sample tests as well as keyboarding skills. That's really essential. Some of the tests are being taken on the desktops, which have the mouse. Other tests are being taken on the Chrome. So they need to know how to do both ways, because they need, they'll come into my lab where I have a mouse and they'll start touching the screen, which doesn't work. So letting them know there are two different ways, and practicing both of those ways is very important.
So swiping may work on some assessments, but keyboarding and mouse usage, and we don't think about that.
Yes.
Having these type of devices for the students, it's no longer paper, pencil, and bubbling in. And I remember those Scantron days, bubbling in, right, was a little bit difficult too, and using the number 2 pencil and making sure you bubble in the lines.
Yes.
Now, in that same vein, with the keyboarding, you still have to make sure you're very focused on what you're clicking on, because you could easily click on something that you never intended to click on in the first place. So, so we have Chromebooks, of course, for our students in the school district, and that's been helpful with moving to the online testing or assessments that we do throughout the year. What types of tests do we offer to the students, and when are testing seasons that our parents need to be really aware of so they can help support their students?
Great question. Our office is very intentional about making sure that parents are aware of all of the assessments that we offer, what grade bands those assessments are, and the name of the assessments. And we actually post that on the homepage. At the top of the homepage, there's calendars, and ours is the 2018-2019 testing calendar. So if parents click on that, they will have right at their fingertips every assessment from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year. The MAP assessment, which is the measures of academic progress, that assessment is provided 3 times a school year, and that's at the fall, and the winter and spring, and they're 45 days long. And so schools have the autonomy to plan and organize testing windows within that time frame. So a student is not testing for 45 days.
I was going to ask
They're
that.
actually, great, yes, that I get a lot of questions from parents about that. Schools actually choose time frame within that 45-day testing window to test their students. It's very, very important. The first fall testing window is a testing window that is used to identify gifted and magnet eligibility. So that time frame is very important. Students have one opportunity to test during that time frame. And so that's the MAP assessment. The COGAT assessment is the Cognitive Abilities Assessment. That actually is given each year around the same exact time, but we utilize the data from the MAP assessment to determine who tests for COGAT. And so not everybody tests for COGAT. It's only those students who score in the 95th percentile in reading or math on the MAP assessment for the fall semester. And that actually is given in October. And then the Access Assessment, that assessment is given to our students who are English learners, and that is given in March. and that is a 6-week time frame. And then we all hear about the Georgia Milestones, and that Georgia Milestones is provided for all of our students in grades 3 through 12. There's the end of grade for our elementary and middle schools, and there's the end of course for our high schools, and that is giving around that April and May timeframe. And the dates fluctuate year to year. We have to actually look at what's happening in our district to determine a testing window where it's going to be optimal for our students' success.
Wow. So everything is laid out on the schedule, and you can find it online.
Yes.
It's fantastic. So for parents and for teachers, okay, you're wearing both hats now.
Okay.
What are the tips that, as a teacher, a technology teacher specifically, that you can share with parents, right, that are successful ways for students to be successful test takers?
Okay.
And then what are those pitfalls that you may have seen that parents and teachers can avoid, if any?
Okay. So I think in order to be successful, one is to have that practice, have the students on the computer, at home. I know now the middle schools and high schools all get Chromebooks. We're so excited about that, thank you.
Yes.
And having them actually practice, having them do keyboarding skills. And that's important also as well for teachers, any of the computer science teachers in the schools, have your students do the keyboarding skills. Some of the pitfalls may be if we emphasize it too much. We get them too anxious about the tests.
Absolutely.
Letting them know, what they know is what they just need to put down. Don't worry about, they're scared if they fail. That just makes it harder on them. So, not having, whatever we can do to keep them from having the anxiety.
Right. And I remember, I'm so I'm so glad I'm an adult and I don't have to take any tests anymore. I was a very poor test taker. I didn't realize what that meant back when I was attending school. But one thing that I do remember, every testing season, they always say, get enough rest, right,
Yes.
the night before. Don't stress it, you know it, right? Have a nice, good breakfast so you're ready to go in there and really do your best, right? It's absolutely important that our students walk into the test performing their best, because that will give the true indicator or measurement of where they are at. And I still believe that holds true. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree.
Good deal. So as we're coming to a close for this particular episode, are there any other tips that you would like to provide parents as we come into a testing season very soon? What's one thing that our students and or our parents should know?
As a parent, because I am also a parent, I would stress simply making sure that every single day you ask your children, what did you learn? That's very, very important, so that they are aware that this is not an event. Learning is a process, and the Georgia Milestones at the end of the school year is simply there to assess what you learn each and every day.
Okay. Just one quick tip that you can offer for teachers, maybe that from that perspective. What should they tell their students?
To just, it's a natural thing, the testing that they'll be taking, and just don't stress them out about it, and they'll do well.
It's a natural thing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Now let's hear from our parents.
I just make sure that my children the night before test try to get a good night's sleep, a big breakfast, and know that the only thing they need to do is their best.
I also put them on Lego robotics teams to help them think out of the box.
To prep the children for testing, I think it's really important that you are in contact with your child's teacher. Your child's teacher is really the conduit to what's happening in your school, and you need to be aware of that and be actively communicating with your teacher, whether it's through email or stepping right into the building to see what's happening. Just have some words with them to make sure that you know what's going on in the classroom. That way you can support them at home.
To help my child get ready for testing, I make sure they have a good dinner the night before and get a good night's sleep, and also have a good, nutritious breakfast.
Now that was a great episode on a very important topic of testing. My name is Moname Malathip, Executive Director of Student Advancement. I want to thank our guest, Dr. Michelle Hinton, for joining us, and also Ms. Allison Scott. Thank you for your expertise.